US Bank is the fifth largest commercial bank in America with 70,000 employees, nearly $700 billion in assets, and over 2,000 branches. Deploying AI at that scale isn't a technology problem, it's a business challenge. Prashant Mehrotra is the bank's chief AI officer. Prashant, where do ideas for AI initiatives come from? How do they get decided? How do they get funded?
Michael, thank you for taking the time, and thanks to your audience for tuning in and listening. Really excited to be part of this conversation. AI is a fascinating topic, and you know, catching and gathering and getting all the ideas together. It's a it's been a really good journey. I've been at the bank for 16 months, and the one thing I've noticed is the excitement, not just around the technology, but the transformative power of the technology and what it brings to the table. Um, we have over the period of time, we have established a very rigorous process of not just collecting all the ideas, but also making sure that those ideas put our customers and clients at the center of it. We work across various different lines of business, both in a bottoms up and a top down approach, ensuring that these ideas are aligned to our business priorities, serve our customers and are executed in a fair and responsible manner. We evaluate these ideas not just for the value they bring, but also for things like technical feasibility, managing the risk, aligning with the risk posture of the bank, and ensuring that we are doing these things in a transparent and communicative manner. I can tell you, I talk with both all across the bank, senior leaders and frontline associates. And they have great ideas, and they have great ideas on how to actually help our internal workforce and clients. So um, it's been a really good journey, and we have hundreds of ideas that we review and we are intending to deploy.
So how do you go through that evaluation or filtering process? Because I'm sure, as you said, you have hundreds of ideas, but you're also under a very large set of constraints. And so how does an idea actually make it through that tunnel? And
Uh,
what's your role as chief AI officer in that?
I'll start with the last point first, because I think that is a key question. We see more and more of chief AI officer roles being executed and hired across not just banking, but across various business sectors. I look at my role as the chief AI officer in four E's. Um, it's a not just a new technology. I look at it as a transformative force. So I look at when I think about four E's, I think about evangelizing, educating our workforce, enabling various different builders across the US bank in building these AI capabilities. And then there are certain strategic priorities or key initiatives that we want to execute on that require absolutely new, emerging technologies, capabilities, or uh, just need a higher touch because of the complexity or the newness of these capabilities. Uh, so when we get the new ideas, um, we have a process, and I'm going to walk you through a few little details of how we actually work across in the bank. Is we first of all we need to make sure that these ideas are aligned with our overall strategic objectives and business priorities. So for that, we work with our lines of business and our chief product officers to ensure that these ideas are something that they want to pursue and align. Then once that has happened, we look at the feasibilities, the cost. Sometimes because of how fast these technology is evolving, we want to make sure that these ideas can be executed using the capabilities that are already available. Sometimes a lot of times they are, but sometimes they are not. So those ideas we will actually add it to the backlog, and we'll revisit that periodically. Once we have done that triage, then what we will actually do is we will take, we will evaluate these ideas on the change management, the readiness, but also the value, both in terms of, help to our customers, revenue growth, or savings. And then we will try these ideas. We'll first pilot them. We'll put it in hands of few of our users or clients, and then we'll scale. Throughout this journey, we are always looking to make sure that these ideas are feasible, they are delivering the right value, and they are aligned with our overall, values and risk posture.
Can I interrupt to ask a question here? What you're describing sounds like a fairly typical process for technology in general. Are there unique aspects that come into play because we're talking about AI here, or is it all part of the general bucket of technology and therefore all handled simply the same way?
That's a great question. One of the things that we are doing here when it comes to AI is making sure that intelligence that we are introducing in the process, um, we are not just making some process more efficient. We are not using just a better technology. There is a cultural shift here happening on asking the question about how does AI, how does this intelligence, and I would call it an intelligence layer, not just a capability or a technology, how does that help us transform that interaction or transform the process to make it entirely seamless for our customers? One of the questions when it comes to AI that we are asking is this process necessary or required in its current iteration or current form? Uh, you know, we are not, there's a lot of talk about, how many of these ideas or pilots or prototypes, depending on, what phrase you're using, are making to production. And what I can tell you is you can use AI to make something slightly better, or you can use AI to completely transform how you interact with our clients. Something that we just launched and our chief consumer digital officer just talked about is we have we provide APIs, and have our developer portal, that we make available to firms that we interact with. Not only we introduce generative AI based developer assistant. It actually helps them not just find the right APIs and capabilities for them to use, but it also helps work side by side with them as a wingman to help troubleshoot and identify those opportunities. So this is not just doing something slightly better, helping you find, or creating a FAQ, or providing an assistant, but working with you as a wingman on how we can do these things entirely differently.
So when it comes to AI, you are also evaluating the, we could say, the transformative impact of the technology as opposed to many other technologies. I don't know, CRM system, for example, which is primarily driving greater efficiency.
That's true, and we are looking at certain efficiencies, but it's completely changing the game. It's not just maintaining a Rolodex of a customer in a better system kind of thing. Uh, uh, it's how do we contact the customer? How do we actually whether it's internal workforce or external clients, how do we interact with them better? Another example I'll give you is how we get the information while the customer is on in moment and is on the call with us. That's another example where we have seen our customer satisfaction jump significantly, because now instead of taking minutes and a lot of awkward pause, we can provide them the answer quickly. And these are the things that we are significantly changing the game on. Another example I'll give you, and this one is really excited, is not only we are changing, doing something more efficiently, but changing how we are creating these assets. We are introducing AI for our developer workforce, for our engineering workforce. And what we are seeing is the term I use internally is wingman. It's not just creating software or features faster. It is creating them more intelligently, being able to test them, being able to actually deploy these things faster. And we are looking at the value chain of end-to-end software development, deployment, quality engineering. Can we do these things all at once? We will always like to, but we are going about it in a methodical fashion, and doing these things much better and in a much different way than we ever used to.
Folks, right now, you can ask your questions. If you're watching on LinkedIn, pop your question into the LinkedIn chat. If you're watching on Twitter, X, use the hashtag CXOTalk. I urge you, take advantage of the opportunity to ask questions. Now, we have a question from Arsalan Khan on Twitter, and he's asking about metrics. When you're generating the ideas of what could AI do for US Bank, are there metrics? How do you make those evaluations? And I know you spoke about this, but if you can again kind of focus on any metrics that you use.
So Arslan, thanks for your question. I have always found that that first question takes a lot of courage. I have always, I'm not sure how many times I had that. So thank you very much. Metrics is an important question. I always believe that you need to measure what's important, and what you cannot measure, you can't manage. Um, we look at metrics on multiple different dimensions and different scales. So I don't know if I can actually talk about a more holistic view, but I'll give you two examples. You heard me talk about creating better software and doing software faster. One of the things we did was automated, using AI, both generative and classic AI, to be able to do code reviews, provide a higher coverage, and do those things faster. And when we started, we had a fair sense of, like, we think it will, we might be 30 or 40% better than before. And as we developed the capabilities, we deployed it to a small pilot group. we measured how what it used to be and what it is doing now, and then we saw that the actual results were significantly overshooting our initial expectations. And when we moved out of the pilot, we were much higher than a 50% faster rate of being able to analyze and review our code. And what that really means is, um, you know, uh, how can, it tells us, what the benefits are, but also resetting those expectations and working with our business, with our development community. The other one, I'll give you an example. So that's an internal one. The second one example I'll give you is when we rolled out being able to provide the nudge and the information to our contact center workforce on use of Gen AI, we saw what used to take us minutes, multiple minutes in providing the answer and a solution to our clients. We are able to bring it down into tens of seconds. And that's a significant improvement. Our clients are busy. They want to get the information, act on it, and go about their way. And now we can actually do it, order of magnitude better than that they were before. So my advice and my ask of my team in direction has always been is, let's make sure that we set an initial expectation, we review it during the process, and make sure we are only scaling up the most impactful of use cases and capabilities, both internally and externally.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, two of the reference points that I've picked up are number one, how does this benefit our customers? And then number two, Prashant, what you just said, which is, are we are we making the largest impact that we can make with the investment that we're proposing on this particular project or issue?
Yeah, and we have all. I'm positive that all the users who are all the audience who are tuning in today, they have all heard about the MIT study that came out talking about 95% of the pilots fail. If you don't have the right metrics, and if you don't have the right focus, which for us has always been our clients, um, as long as we keep those two things in focus, we can make sure that not only we have a very high degree of impact, but we are also being able to scale these things. There was one thing as you were asking me the question, that I remember that I should say is, it's really important for us to measure as we are rolling out these capabilities throughout the life cycle, from pilot to a general availability scale version. But what's really important is, what do you compare it to? So you need to also have a baseline of how you are doing those things today, how long it takes, what's the quality around it. Because you can say we are reviewing code faster, but do we know that we are making a measurable impact on the quality of the code or the quality of answers we are providing to our clients? So those are the things that are really important, all the way from baselining your existing to your new transformative interaction and capabilities.
So you're very data driven, data aware, clearly. Just a reminder again, folks, all you folks who are listening, I am surprised we don't have more questions. This is your opportunity to ask the chief AI officer of one of the largest banks in the world pretty much whatever you want. So take advantage of it, please. And we do have a question from James Hook on LinkedIn, who says, how does the AI strategy cooperate with the sustainability goals of US Bank?
That's another great question, and we publish data and report and information on it on an annual basis. We want to make sure that as we talk about these things, and some of these things happen over a period of time, is we work with our partners who provide these capabilities as we are bringing these capabilities and enrolling them out in a thoughtful fashion. um, they are not just aligned with our sustainability goals, but we are constantly working throughout and sharing transparently these capabilities and their usage externally. And for more information on this one, I'll refer you to our corporate governance information online.
And on the question of governance, we have a question on the topic of governance. We have a question from David Lose, who on LinkedIn, who says, what's currently the biggest constraint that you run into when trying to achieve outcomes at scale? Is it data, governance, operating model, or adoption? Where are the challenges?
That is number one, a big question, and it'll probably take us the entire rest of the uh, you know podcast to talk about it. So I'm going to briefly touch on a few of these things. I have been very lucky, I will say, is to just there's a lot of conversation about being working in the bank and the regulatory environment, but I've been very lucky to have the risk partners and the governance partners and the compliance partners I have at the bank. Um, we have treated this not as something that the AI Center of Excellence or the Chief AI Officer does and then passes or works with our data team or works with our technology team and then passes it to the risk team. It's never been like that. It's been a highly collaborative effort. We meet regularly. We talk about not just individual use cases, but how are we accelerating AI adoption and building the capabilities and introducing the capabilities to the bank. Um, and we look at the entire life cycle of these capabilities on how we are able to do that. Working with my business line chief risk officer, um, I was I was really encouraged on his approach, working closely. I can tell you that we have cut down. We have not just increased the time that it takes to roll out something this new and this transformative, but we have actually been able to cut down in the last 6 months the time it takes for us to go through the governance and approval process. Now, that doesn't mean that we are adding risk, but what that means is that we have made this a repeatable process. We are engaging my risk partners very early on in the process. We give them a sense of what is coming down, providing them the transparency, and making sure that whatever we can actually learn during one new capability or use case introduction, that we build it in the platform and we roll it out repeatedly and repeatably, I should say. So we are seeing, in some cases, the approval and the risk approval times being cut down in half, so that the next one and the next one are going faster and better. In terms of risk, I know you ask a multifaceted question: risk, governance, data. Um, Look, AI is not just another new technology. It's not just a slightly better tool to do what we were doing before as is. So with that kind of transformative technologies, we have to look at everything that is involved to bring these things, this capability. and putting to life and putting them responsibly in the hands of our users. So I work very closely with our chief technology officer, with our chief data product officer, and we are improving each one of these, in some cases incrementally, and in some cases taking significant step changes. And we are seeing good progress. AI by itself isn't the panacea that we want it to be. We need to make sure that we are getting all the right partners across an enterprise, and I should say internally and externally, to make that improvement.
All right, let's jump to another question. I love taking questions from the audience. You guys in the audience are really smart, and your questions are wonderful. I should also mention that now would be an excellent time to subscribe to the CXOTalk newsletter so you can join our community and we'll notify you about upcoming live CXOTalk shows. So go to cxotalk.com and just subscribe to our newsletter. Do that now. So here's a question from Rohit Nagpal, who says he's asking about that MIT study where it said 95% of pilots fail. And he's asking where to get it. And just, Rohit, just search on MIT pilot failure study. You'll find it. But let's jump back a little bit and talk about pilots in general. Many organizations do struggle to move beyond pilots. So what has your experience been, and what are some of the lessons that you've learned in moving from pilots to production?
So first of all, when it comes to AI or any other new transformative capability, there's always a lot of excitement. You want to be able to harness that excitement, those ideas. So we always end up with a lot of pilots. But if all we are doing is jumping from that excitement to running some of the pilots without a strategy and a goal of scaling, it really never works out. When it comes to AI specifically, scaling is the key. You want to make sure that you take that initial excitement and don't turn it into a list of pilots or a whole bunch of that. We talk about the strategy of having 1,000 flowers bloom. Um, what we need to do, what we have done, is we create these pilots and we bring those groups together in terms of pilots, and make sure that we have a very quick and transparent process to take it to scale. Again, I'll go back to this example of product development or AI assisted product development. We had 3 or 4 different pilots on how to do code reviews. We ran it, we brought the group together, and we took the right ideas and the right approaches from various different pilots, decided on one final product, and then we quickly scaled it. But we did it with all the groups having a seat at the table. And right now it's in the hands of thousands of our code developers. If And we need to make sure, and I know you asked this in the very beginning of the conversation, is the funding side of it. We need to make sure these pilots, we are able to fund not just the pilot, but also the scaling of it. And scaling requires tackling enterprise, size constraints, and things like disaster recovery, being change management. So we have different groups engaged in the change management side of it to make sure that these pilots are taken to a successful and evaluation stage.
Wonderful. Let's go on to another question. And this is a message to Andy, the video technician. Prashant has no video right now, so he's on audio and we can hear him. So if you can fix it, that would be excellent. And we're gonna continue, but we'll hear Prashant's voice. So this is and his video has just come back. Welcome back, Prashant. So let's see. I'm taking these questions in order. We're now starting to get a lot of questions, which is great. I'm delighted that you guys are taking advantage of this. Okay. How does this is from Sonia M, who asks about how do you align the AI strategy with the bank's overall business objectives and risk management frameworks? And specifically, can you talk about the governance structures you've established to oversee AI development and deployment?
Thank you very much, and good to be back on screen again. Um, I assure you, I was sitting in the same chair. uh, so, aligning AI strategy to the business strategy. I will actually reframe the question. We started when I joined and I started to set up the AI strategy. Me and the team started with the business objectives and the business strategy, because AI by itself or AI strategy by itself doesn't occur in a vacuum. Now, in some cases, these transformative capabilities or AI can actually certainly influence it, but we always, our North Star is our client, our customers, and it's the business strategy that needs to be enabled by AI strategy. So we have never, uh, I don't, get into the, situation where AI strategy is, not aligned. So I don't, you know, that's one thing I want to, call out. Secondly, in the governance structure, very early on in the process, U.S. Bank, I would say, is you know, when it comes to risk and governance, we have a very good posture and a very robust posture when it comes to risk and governance both. And what we do here is we make sure that we are creating both something that's transparent up to the the leadership, but also down below. So we have a governance, in terms of regularly reporting to our board, to our management committee, but also to my day-to-day partners, who are, not just showing them the capabilities or the, their use cases that we are tackling, but also the platform we are building, so that ultimately, for a well-managed and well-run, company using AI, this capability has to be in the hands of every single builder, creator, developer, and user. And for that, we need to make sure that they are educated, there's a good platform, and the governance is a feature of the platform rather than an appendage.
You're raising a very important set of issues around AI culture and what that means. And we actually have two questions on LinkedIn that relate to this. So let me combine these. And this is from Michelle Allman and Maya Cunningham. And Michelle asks, what are the minimum skills every leader and risk partner should have for AI enabled work in 2026? And Maya asks, what does AI education and enablement look like for employees at US Bank? And let me roll both of these up into this broader question of the culture transformation that's required in order to achieve the kind of broad AI literacy you're describing.
So, thank you both, Michelle and Maya, for the question. I think it's an interesting question about the minimum capabilities. The With the advancements that are happening, the baseline keeps on improving and going up. And it's upon all of us to make sure that we are, finding the right resources and, working with the teams across the board to educate ourselves. One of the things that we are doing at the bank is we are making sure that we are rolling out learning programs for our entire workforce. It's not just the leaders themselves. It's the all the way from the top, to the frontline associates, and we are doing it based on a persona and the roles they are playing in leveraging, building, strategizing, and influencing the direction of the company. So all of these resources have to make sure that they are thinking of they are well educated and aware of AI capabilities for us to be an AI first bank. And um, I have great partnership, I would say, with our learning and development and human resources and risk teams in making sure that these these resources are not just simply rolled out once, but they are continuously updated, and we connect these resources to the tools that we are rolling out and to their roles that they are playing in part of the company. So no matter where you are, we have something to help you adopt AI or build using AI or strategize using AI better.
It sounds like enabling this, I call it AI culture shift, is a very important part of your role as the chief AI officer at US Bank. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
It absolutely is. Uh, the way I actually would say is it's not the job of one chief AI officer or one small group to be able to roll this out. It's all of us are in this together. It's a transformative a capability, and we need to make sure that we are all in it, well educated, well prepared for the future to help our
So,
clients.
so let me ask you this: for those of us who have been around for a while and have observed things like ERP rollouts, the language in some ways is similar. If you're rolling out an ERP, really it's a transformational change to the organization. But AI is different. So can you talk about the unique aspects or unique issues that AI drives?
I think there are two things that I would say. Number one is for the first time, we are able to use uh, the quality, the quantity, the scale, and the speed of data and make that decision. We are able to push that decision to the front line faster than ever before. Number two, the problems we are facing are coming, are compounding or being able to make that at the scale unlike anything we have done before. When we think about, and ERP is a great example, when we think about using ERP, you are using it in pockets, different groups are using it slightly differently, and not everyone is using it, right? When you think about AI, and I know we use the term AI very broadly, but no matter what your pane of glass is, no matter what data you were using, you are able to use, you are able to bring that intelligence or augment your human intelligence with with AI in general capability better, and being able to do at a scale that has never been done before. And we are, uh, I know it seems cliche to say, we are in the beginning stages of it. we talk a lot about agentic AI. Talk a lot about autonomous decision making. Uh, we have we are able to do those things, and if we don't actually get our workforce educated and trained and ready for it now, we'll be very much behind, later on. And I don't mean to say we as just the US bank, but we as, everyday developer and users of these technologies and systems.
It's a really interesting point that now is the time to prepare the ground for the technologies that we know will be here in the next, year or two. It's a really important point that you're making, it seems to me.
Absolutely.
Let's jump to some more questions. And folks who have asked more than one question, I am aware that you have. And after we get through, after people have had a chance to answer one, we'll circle back to your other questions. And if you haven't asked questions, ask. Now's the time. There's only so much time left. So ask your questions. And this is a really interesting question from Connor Whalen. And he says, as you scale AI driven outreach, how do you make sure that automated customer contact remains aligned with evolving consumer contact regulations?
It's a great question. Thanks, Connor, for it. So that there are two portions to it. As we actually scale the contact, as we scale the use of AI, both internally and externally, we have guardrails in place. We have, human in the loop in the place, which I would say is our driving principle right now. Um, and we are making sure that we are evaluating and reviewing those contacts. So that's one. Number two, we work with both our regulatory partners, our internal risk partners, and our vendors to make sure that these systems and these capabilities, we are always at the forefront of bringing in the latest and greatest, not just technology, but also adhering to the compliance and regulations, to and that it is in line with our risk posture and with our clients' expectations of how we interact with them. Um, Final point I'll bring on this one is, even before we roll out any capabilities, we want to make sure that it is done in such a fashion that we are mindful of our customers' expectations and of their perception of us.
Your reference point, again, continually seems to be, how does what we're doing with AI affect our customers? Is that an accurate perception on my part, understanding?
Absolutely. Our clients are the center of everything we do.
We have another question from, this is now from Lisa Pratico. I love these questions. You guys, I keep saying this, but you guys in the audience are really smart. Okay, Lisa Pratico says, what does the leadership organization structure look like? And is there a steering committee that includes you, your chief sustainability officer, if that role exists, and your CIO on strategy, assessments, and execution of, I'm assuming, AI projects or proposed projects?
So thanks, Lisa, for the question. The So we have a core group between the chief. I already mentioned as chief AI officer, our chief data product officer, and the chief technology officer. We also work very closely. I also work very closely with our managing committee and different teams across the bank. Um, we have regular touch bases, and they are, they're not just learning about, the three of us, we are not just learning about, what we are doing, but we are strategizing, we are creating these plans, and we are understanding the impact of the decisions we are making and working and building those in the plans together. AI by itself doesn't exist outside. As I said, and Michael, thanks again for pointing it out, is we talked about putting clients at the middle, at the center of it. It's our stakeholders, it's our shareholder, it's the community that we serve and then that we live in. We need to make sure that we are bringing all of these things together and our strategy and our vision serves them.
Okay. Let's talk about data. We have a question from Arslan Khan, who is asking about the value of data. Do you see data as an asset? And how do you think about the value of that data? And wouldn't different senior leaders place a different value on data? And so, how do you manage that type of thinking?
I'm sorry, there was a slight lag, and I think it might be a connection issue, Michael. So I'll repeat this question for you. Um, how do I interact with data, and what are the different values that different leaders might actually put in? Did I get that right?
Precisely.
Uh, that's a great question, and I'll mention two things, and I should have done that before. Is one of the unique things that I feel like U.S. Bank has done is we have put our AI group together with data, our chief data product officer, and our digital team. So our group is called Digital Data and AI, and in this role, and the second point, and I'll elaborate it a little in a minute, is AI without data. I know we hear a lot about hallucination in generative AI, but AI without data itself is a hallucination. So you really need to have a very good and trustworthy data foundation for us to be able to leverage AI. So it's essential. I cannot emphasize how foundational that is. The other thing is, as I was mentioning about digital data and AI, is from building a very good foundation of data and being able to and interacting in with our customers and clients and employees in a digital layer. AI is that intelligence layer that bounds it together and makes that interactions not just more efficient, uh, it makes it really fast, it makes it much more holistic. And bringing these three groups together under one leader has really helped us, you know, accelerate, uh, you know, rolling out these capabilities, reducing, increasing the number of pilots to production and scale, but also making sure that we are coming across to our customers, our clients, and our employees as one entity.
So again, I keep saying this and am struck by is the reference point for you on pretty much everything you're doing is what will the impact be on your clients. That's always the North Star, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Client is our North Star. They're the center of everything. And, I might have mentioned this before is, and we also want to make sure that our, various different stakeholders like community, are part of that consideration. But clients are our North Star in the center of everything we do.
All right, let's go to a few more questions. And this is from Grace Pappas. who says, a simple, quick question. Can you talk about the technologies or platforms that you use to drive these initiatives?
Um, some of them I'm happy to talk about. Of course, there's a lot of details that I probably won't be, but thanks, Grace, for the question. Uh, we work with, we already have a lot of technology and vendor partnership. um, we work with different hyperscalers, but when it comes to AI, we are bringing in new capabilities, and we are working with a lot of startups and entrepreneurs uh, who are thinking of um, making available or solving some niche problems that come together with AI. Um, Guardrails is one example that we are partnering with with a vendor partner of ours. I unfortunately won't be able to name names for us, but there are some unique ones, and we are also leveraging our pre-existing partnership across the board.
Here's another technical question. This might be a little bit too much down in the weeds, but let me toss it out anyways. This is from Sean Tumanov on LinkedIn, who asks, what kind of uh, well, I'll just read his question. As we shift from a build from scratch error to fine tuning, leveraging open source foundation models on proprietary data, how must a bank's organizational strategy evolve, specifically structural changes required to transition from model development to high stakes model integration?
Uh, that is a very interesting question, and thanks, Sean, for that. Uh, a fellow Chicagoan, if I have the name right. So, build versus, I'm going to simplify that, and if that doesn't answer the question, please feel free to repose that. Build versus buy has always been a interesting conversation when it comes to any new technology, and there is not a single answer when it comes to build versus buy. It can be various different lines of business, your different use cases, your different internal customers and employees who are using it. So there's a lot of art to it, in addition to the science about it. What's really unique about, I would say, generative AI is, for the first time, that we are able to leverage external models at scale without modifying them. And what we do is provide a unique perspective in terms of the user, the client, the prompts, and the data that we provided. And over the past year and a half, and at the bank and well before that, is I have worked with various different risk teams, various different audit and compliance teams, in making sure that we are evolving our process in evaluating and managing that risk. Because uh, if you look back at, um, I would say, November 2022 and before, 90% of the models that any organization used to use was really homegrown or inbuilt and had a high level of customization and control. When models like transcription and image analysis came by, those were the first time that we started to use external models at scale without modification. But the the balance is now tilting in favor of models for hire more than models you build.
Okay, we're almost out of time, and so I'm going to ask you some questions, but I'll ask you, Prashant, to keep your answers relatively short because we simply are going to run out of time. And here's a question from Austin Dirksen on LinkedIn, who is an MBA student, a finance student, and he says this. He has a good question from How should we think about AI as a strategic investment rather than just a technology cost? What signals tell you that an AI initiative is actually creating durable value for a bank like US Bank? Great question.
It is a great question, and thank you very much for that. Uh, I mentioned early on, and I'll try to keep it very short. Is I mentioned early on, we are measuring the value at every step of the way. We are understanding the applicability and the reach of the AI capabilities that we are building, adopting, or rolling out, and we ensure that it aligns with overall with our risk posture, and it's something that we want to add to our to the capabilities that we offer to our clients.
Okay. Questions keep coming in. We're going to run out of questions. We're going to run out of time before we get to all the questions because I actually have one or two issues that are important that we need to cover as well. This is from Eric Vosch, who says, when you're scaling AI use cases, how do you prioritize use cases to start testing that to ensure that they align with your business objectives, feasibility, and readiness requirements? So how do you prioritize when it's time to test?
In terms of prioritization, we work and depend a lot on our business partners and business leaders on what makes, what is important for them and their customers. In terms of when we are ready to test, I think it's more, and maybe I'm just not getting it the question right. It's more of a question of what capabilities that we can, build or roll out or adopt fast, and when is our user community who's able to use that is ready, because change when it comes to AI, a, a educated workforce and a change ready workforce is really important.
Okay. And we have a comment from Lawrence Greisiels, who's asking whether this will be available on the replay. And I just posted on LinkedIn the link to the CXOTalk site where next week the slightly edited video of this will be available. Before we finish up, one very important question you have US Bank has significant insight into client behavior. How do you translate that insight into AI experiences that customers will find valuable, but without feeling invasive or crossing that line into creepiness?
I I'll give you an example on this one. Many of us have actually, bought homes, cars, or any other capability, any other asset over a period of time. How would it feel like if your bank, who you borrow for your mortgage, sends you a marketing material or an offer 3 months after you have closed, borrowed from them, and uh, you know tries to sell you a better mortgage, and it's like, me, I've banked with my banks for decades and decades. um, why are you not offering me a more intelligent service? Our expectations as a consumer have evolved over time, where we almost expect with these institutions that we interact with to know us better and interact with us in a smart, intelligent, and knowledgeable way. And so one of the things we try to do is make things more contextual, take into account the right information that we are aware of and have of our customers, and make sure whatever we are doing with them feels relevant to them.
It's a very fine line between using data to give the customer an intuitive experience versus making them uncomfortable because you know too much.
I would agree with that, and that's why we also have our responsible AI principles, that we established at the outset of the program. And as I said before, let's make sure that those interactions are relevant, timely, and we need to contextualize that based on our customers' expectation of us.
We are out of time. Prashant Mehrotra, U.S. Bank's Chief AI Officer, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. I'm very grateful to you, Prashant.
Thank you.
And everybody, thank you for watching and thank you for your awesome questions. Before you go, check out CXOTalk.com and subscribe to our newsletter so we can keep you up to date and you can join us for upcoming episodes, which we have great ones. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.